Greetings and welcome to the laBARatory, where happy hour meets chemical engineering. I am your mad scientist, Mad Facts. Today we're going on a trip across the pond to the land of my ancestors. That's right, we are heading to England, or perhaps you might know it as the United Kingdom, or maybe it's UK, or Great Britain, or maybe the British Isles. Oh my word, this place has more aliases than Elizabeth Taylor had husbands. Picture it, 1949. The World War II had just come to an end, and I was hanging out with one of my besties, Lizzie, and we decided we wanted to create a beverage to celebrate the end of the war. So we rummaged through the Royal Liquor Larder. A larder is what you would call a pantry. Well, what we were shocked to discover was there were only 3 bottles remaining. It appeared that Buckingham Palace was running rather low on spirits, but with great desperation often comes great scientific discovery. And that is how we concocted one of the most legendary cocktails of all time, the Queen's Negroni. And we are going to show you how to make it today. Let's get started, shall we? Our first ingredient, of course, is a British classic, and that is gin. Not just any gin, of course, mind you. It must be top-shelf gin. I mean, after all, this is the Queen's Negroni, and if you're going to have a Queen's Negroni, you should at least act like one! Our next ingredient is the classic in an Italian Negroni, and that is Campari. Campari is a bitter orange liqueur, and it adds such beautiful citrus notes to that gin. Our final ingredient is Dubonnet. Oh, that takes me back to India, 1849. I was riding on the back of an elephant all the way from Calcutta to New Delhi. Sadly, though, the troops were beginning to fall ill with malaria, and there's only one surefire way to help with malaria, and that is to administer quinine. And I don't know if you know this, but quinine is quite unpleasant. So to help mask that unpleasant taste, we concocted Dubonnet. True story. And with that, who knew that alcohol could have such fabulous health benefits? Now, before we get started mixing the chemicals, it is important to note you're going to have a type of container to put the beverage in, the Queen's Negroni. And because it is the Queen's Negroni, we're going to be rather classic and use what we call coupe. Now, I won't really judge you if you drink it in a red Solo cup. Here we have our ingredients, and instead of mucking about with the metric system and some less civilized version and trying to compare the two, we're going to keep it super simple, and we're going to be doing it with parts. So 2 parts of our gin, 1 part of the Campari, and 1 part of the Dubonnet. We, of course, will now add those to our shaker that has frozen H2O in it. That for you is ice. And then lastly, the Dubonnet. And now we are going to gently shake our chemicals in our frozen H2O or ice. Now, we don't want to do this too violently because that is not the way of the Queen. I mean, after all, it is the Queen's Negroni. I mean, the last time she got really rambunctious like this was at that all-night kegger with Ronald Reagan and Nancy in 1985. And we really don't like to talk about that. So now we will pour our ingredients into our coupe. Ooh, look at the beautiful color. Oh, it's so nice and lovely. Now, to add a garnish, you might want to take a rather large citrus item, such as an orange or a lemon, and create for yourself a nice lemon zest sprinkle. This one I'm actually using is a grapefruit. And there we have it. And this ladies and gentlemen, is the Queen's Negroni. And I, again, am Mad Thax, and thank you for joining us on today's episode of the laBARatory, where chemical engineering meets happy hour.